Hey Spartan colleagues, this is a set of 3 videos I put together to showcase some of the things that you can do with Keynote, an Apple application that is very similar to PowerPoint. You can either click a link to the right and go to one of the 3 sections, or you can watch the whole thing straight through. Hope you find this helpful. Keynote is the Apple iWork equivalent of PowerPoint. Now we will still have PowerPoint on our new iMacs. You can see PowerPoint and the other Microsoft Office programs right down here on my dock. If you want to keep on using PowerPoint, you will have that option. However, I think that Keynote offers a number of things that I'll show you in this video. The first one is a very smooth, easy to edit graphic interface that creates presentations quickly that are, I feel, just a little bit sharper than PowerPoint, but then there's also some real functionality to Keynote, in particular in how it's going to play with our iPads, which I'll show you later on in the video. It's also worth noting that if you have existing PowerPoints, anything that's in a PPT or a PPTX file, those can be opened in Apple Keynote, and anything that you create in Apple Keynote can be saved in a format so that it will be openable in Microsoft PowerPoint. So if you need to create a Keynote presentation that will then run on a Windows machine, you can do that. The two programs have a lot of similarities and they play pretty well together, but there's a couple really neat things I want to show you about Apple Keynote. So if I go down here and I open up Keynote, it'll start off by asking me if I want to work on the last presentation I was working on, but instead I'll go ahead and create a new document, and it starts off by giving you a choice of themes or templates that you can choose from to build your presentation. It's got a number of good ones. There are more available for download. Or the one that I'll choose is a custom-made theme that I built that is guest and day themed. If you like this theme, I will leave a link in the video description so that you can download it and have it on your iMac. Let's go ahead and open that up. And you'll see that what it gives us is almost identical to PowerPoint. We have our navigator over here, which shows us the slides. Let's go ahead and add some slides that we will play with later. We have our navigator. We can pick and choose between our slides. We have our slides themselves where we can add text and we can add our subtitles. It is very, very similar to PowerPoint in that functionality, maybe just a little bit more attractive. It has the full ability. Yeah, you can change your font styles. No real surprises there. What really sets Keynote apart from PowerPoint, though, is how easy it is to make very good-looking graphic presentations and how smoothly Keynote deals with media, how well it deals with videos, especially anything that is coming in from iMovie or from your iPad. Keynote is very good at integrating that into a good graphic presentation. Let's look then at a slide that has some media on it. Let's look at a slide that's got a picture on it. Here we have a beautiful picture of graduation, and as soon as I dragged it in from the school's Facebook page, it gave me that nice border around it, that nice picture frame. I can go ahead and I can change that picture frame if I like, or I can get rid of that altogether if I am not into the frills of it. But really I feel that Keynote does give us a very sharp looking presentation, and it makes it natural to get that sharp looking presentation. You don't need to add in a lot of effort to get the beautiful presentation of Keynote. Of course, not everybody is a big fan of Sparty here, Lori Davis, so let's go ahead and change that picture. If I want to make that a handsome picture of my golf boys, all I need to do is drag in my photo, and I've got it right there. It preserves that picture frame around it. You see that it's pretty easy to create and edit media on here. In fact, that picture's a little bit too far zoomed out. Let's just go ahead and all I need to do to zoom it in and crop an image is that. You can double click on an image at any time and crop it, change the zoom that is associated with it. It's very easy to make a sharp looking presentation with Apple Keynote. While style is something that sets Keynote apart from PowerPoint, It accomplishes that style without sacrificing any of the substance, and as I'll show later, it actually adds a good bit more functionality when it plays with our iPads than PowerPoint has for us currently. To show that it's still got the substance, let's take a look at a more typical PowerPoint slide. You, of course, have the title and then all of the bullets and more different bullets. All of the things that you would associate with a PowerPoint presentation, including, of course, the silly animations that kids love to include. It's got some very sharp animations, some that are very functional, some that are a little bit overdramatic, but those can be fun sometimes. But really what is key to Keynote and what makes Keynote a great program to be working with is how well it can integrate media. Let's say I want to get rid of these banners here, and instead I want to drop in a video from one of my classes. Keynote plays very well with any media that's coming in from Apple. So anything that's coming in from your iPhoto, from your iPad photos, or here's a video that we shot in my class. We filmed it on the iPad, we edited it using iMovie, and here we've got Spencer Pendleton in a powdered wig. And I can edit this video just like it is a photo. I can even add that picture frame to it so I can get that really cool, it's like Harry Potter and the pictures start talking to you. It will freak your kids out the first time you do it, so that's fun. And it's very easy, it's seamless for me to integrate any form of media coming from the Apple suite of products into Keynote. In fact, if I want to, I can even have Spencer Pendleton come in a explosion of fireworks. There we go. All sorts of cool things that we can do with the incorporation of media into Apple Keynote. Keynote also makes it easy to insert charts and graphs. They've got some fancy, easy on the eyes 3D charts. They have simple 2D charts for those people who care about the data being portrayed accurately. They've even got these pretty cool interactive charts so that you can see the changes to data over time. And of course, any of these charts can be inserted, resized, edited. All you need to do is, it's as easy as putting in data into a spreadsheet, and of course, work with the attractive animations that come with Keynote. Again, some of this is just a superficial appeal to Keynote. Some of this is just graphic flash, which does make the presentation more enjoyable for the audience, but there is a lot of functionality that I'll get to in just a second. One last cool thing that can be done with Apple Keynote are the transitions between slides. One in particular that I like is what it refers to as an object transition. So if I go to the transition between slides, I can make it so that the transition between slides will leave the background intact while animating the content. Maybe this is me justifying a flashy, cool-looking thing, but I feel like that really does a good job of creating a presentation that then comes off as a continuous stream of content rather than a discrete set of slides. Might just be a personal preference of mine. Anyway, those are some of the basics and stylistics capabilities of Apple Keynote. I plan on doing a workshop on this when we get to back to school time, but what I'm going to share with you guys next is the real functionality and utility of Apple Keynote, which is going to be how it syncs with our iPads. One of the many things that makes Keynote a very useful application for our purposes is how it can sync between the iMac and the iPad. There is a Keynote app for the iPad. It's available for free on the iTunes Store. And if you open it up, you can see a number of things that Keynote can do that really adds an extra layer of practicality and functionality. One of them that I use on a daily basis is simply using my iPad as a remote control for my keynote presentation. So the keynote presentation is being displayed on the smartboard, and I have the ability to control it from my iPad. You see that there is this little remote button up here in the corner, and if I press that, it automatically syncs with my computer. All I had to do to get it to do that is put in a 4-digit code the first time that I linked the two of them together. And if I hit play, what it will do is it will open up whatever keynote is already open on my computer. So I hit play, and it starts playing my World War II keynote presentation. And if I click in the right place on my iPad, it starts to move through my presentation, and I have a mobile remote. This way, it allows me to be mobile and around my classroom. I can pace as I am giving my lecture. I can be standing next to students that need that little bit of proximity. I can be monitoring what they are doing as I am giving my lecture. So there is a good bit of functionality that comes with that. However, what's really helpful about this is, if I show you what's on my iPad screen right now, on my iPad screen, I don't just have the presentation, but I have the presentation with my presenter notes. So as I am giving my presentation, I have my notes right there. I have a mobile remote control for my presentation. It is a very good synchronous presentation platform. All that I had to do to get those notes included was quite simply type them into the keynote presentation when I was making it, and they automatically show up when I am using the iPad as a keynote remote control. Another neat function of using the iPad as a remote control, and this one is a little bit more tricky to reflect to you, but another interesting function and very useful function of it is that when I'm using the iPad as a remote control, it gives me markers and it gives me a laser pointer. So I have a lot of the smartboard functionality, but again, that's wireless. I can be doing that on my iPad away from the smartboard. So it gives you just that little bit more freedom in the classroom in using those features that you used to need to be right next to the smartboard in order to use. There's a lot of functionality to be had in using the iPad in presenting with Keynote. However, there's also some functionality just on the iPad with Keynote. And let's close out of this and take a look at the iPad app. In addition to using the iPad as a Keynote remote, the iPad can be used to create a Keynote presentation. It's not as fully functioned as using it on the desktop, but if you want to have students create a presentation in class and they can share it by the end of class, you can do that without ever needing to use the computer lab. They will have that ability on their iPads. Another useful feature is that you can play a Keynote presentation on the iPad. You can see that I've got a number of my presentations already loaded on here. If I open that same World War II PowerPoint, I can then watch that presentation on my iPad, and you can see how it plays just like any other Keynote presentation or PowerPoint presentation. I can click through it on my iPad and have full control over it. What this is useful for is if a student has, let's say, missed a class, or you want to get that presentation to a student, really it is quite easy to share a presentation with students. All you need to do is go up here to the good old share button, and it gives you the ability to send a copy of that presentation. As soon as the student comes into class the next day and says, I missed the presentation, you can airdrop it to them, you can mail it to them. It's a great way to share your presentation so that a student can use it either for review purposes or if they missed a class. That's a great way for getting a presentation to a student who has missed a class or wants to review some material at their own pace. For those of you who have a flipped classroom, something that can be done with Keynote is when you share a presentation, if you have recorded your own version, your own audio of you going through that presentation, when they go to play that slideshow, they will have the option of either playing the slideshow at their own pace, or they can play the recorded slideshow, so they will get your lecture right along with it. In fact, I will click that just to show that it works. Chapter 1 introduces a number of frameworks that will refer, and they can go and they can listen to my lecture, which I won't bore you all with. That's just some of the stuff that can be done linking the Keynote and the iPad together. The next thing that I'm going to show you is how Keynote can be used for this screencasting and for creating a recorded presentation. The flipped classroom is in vogue in education right now. We've had a number of professional development seminars on how or why you might want to flip your classroom, but Keynote is another tool that can be used if you are considering flipping your classroom and want to have recorded presentations for your students to watch outside of class, giving you more time for interactive and engaging content inside of class. In the same way that EduCreations can be used, or Explain Everything, or even PowerPoint does have this functionality, Keynote will allow you to record your slideshow. What it gives you is a nice little recording studio here where it sets you up with both your presentation and you can have your notes, but in the version that the students will see, they won't see your notes along the side. The students will see the good old presentation with your disembodied voice over it. So if we take a look at our recording studio, we see that we have just the basic features here. It shows you that your microphone is on and you can start recording. And you can easily record your voice over your presentation so that there will be both the audio and your graphic presentation going on for the students. What you will see while you are recording is your slides and your notes, but all that your students will get is your slides and your beautiful disembodied voice coming through your speakers at them. It is a pretty simple way then that you can record your lectures and start to flip a classroom. It gives you the ability to pause your presentation if you need to regather your thoughts or if you need to get a drink of water, and it does offer you some limited abilities to go back and edit it in Keynote. It does also give you a pretty good set of options for how you want this screen set up. If you want that timer at the top, you can have it so you know how long you have been presenting for. If you want a clock up there, you can have it. If you want to bring up your navigator of slides, it is really a good little recording studio for anyone who is interested in flipping a classroom. Probably the best set of features, though, is... Oh, need to stop recording. Probably the best set of features, though, is how easy it makes it to share these videos once you have created them. It gives you a little share button up here, and you can then share your presentation through iCloud. You can put a link on your Edline page, or you can upload the video of you going through your presentation straight to YouTube out of Keynote. It's nothing that PowerPoint and EduCreations and Explain Everything can't do with a little bit of coaxing, but it is very easy and seamless to start the process of flipping your classroom. Or maybe if you're not going for a full-scale flipping your classroom, maybe you just want the students to be able to view a lecture from you on a day that you can't be there. It makes it very easy from the technical standpoint to start flipping a classroom. It still is a lot of work on the intellectual standpoint, but Keynote does a good job of making that into at least a technically pain-free process. Those are some of the features that I find most useful in Apple Keynote. I'm going to try to do a couple breakout sessions when we get to back to school time, One on a sort of advanced, here's how to make a very rich graphic experience with Keynote, but then another on a couple of advanced tools that you can use to make some innovative and non-traditional PowerPoint style presentations using Apple Keynote. Hope this was helpful.